If you're uncomfortable with cameras on, feel free to, turn your camera off. But we are really just so grateful to have you here and with us this evening. This is definitely a first time effort for us, and we're pretty excited. So welcome to our first online Anniversary Roundtable. Most of you know, all of you know that I am Heather Bland, the CEO of my Refuge House. And as many of you know, I think all of you, some of you were there when I wasn't there 14 years ago. So we just celebrated 14 years of being on a journey of hope and healing with survivors, families, and communities impacted by human trafficking in Cebu, Philippines. As part of celebrating this milestone, and in a world that has been emerging from a global pandemic, our hope is that this roundtable will help you feel more personally connected. And please note that I am recording so that we can share it through our YouTube channel in case you want to re-listen to some of the details and question them, like Rose Ann is nervous about. No, I'm just kidding. We're actually very excited to entertain any questions. We'll do our best, but also for those who are unable to join us today. Rose Ann, you can turn this. Thank you. In a moment, you're going to hear more from our international leadership. So that includes Rose Ann Ababa, who is our Director of Program Operations, and Omar Burdeos, who is our Director of Program Administration. And they are in the same screen. You can see them. And this is exactly how I see them every Thursday night. So it makes sense to me that they're right there together. And then you'll also hear from Kim Jones, who is our Director of Engagement, and Rachel Toberty, who is our US Board Chair. I will note, you can tell that Kim is not with us at the moment, and she actually had to be in two places tonight. So we have pre-recorded her reflection. I also wanted to take a moment to just acknowledge our gratitude for Amber Schlosser, who has been our Director of Development for several years. She and her family moved from California to San Antonio during the pandemic. And as many of you know, life has a way of pulling us in different directions. So she has moved on from her employment with us, but her strategic skills and passion for our work are still baked into our foundation that she leaves behind. And as many of you know, it's nearly impossible to leave the MRH family. So we will certainly be staying in touch with her and hear more about how she's influencing her community in San Antonio. After sharing a few general thoughts in a moment, I will step out of the way and pop in occasionally to ask a question or add a thought. I told Rose Ann and Omar I might just jump in and add a few things that that I want to make sure that they're kind of noting, or things that I know that they're a little too shy to brag about. But my hope is that this feels both structured and laid back, because we are kind of a family. But as we walk you through a pretty big picture reflection, we'll spotlight a few details about the life and journey of my Refuge House over the last several years. Our hope is that that this takes about an hour. And during our presentations, feel free to use the chat to note any questions you might have. We'll do our best. I might interject a few if it seems like it's going to be part of the flow, or we'll try to stick around afterwards for a short bit to visit and answer any other questions. And if we don't get to something, we will follow up after this evening. You will hear more in just a bit about our history and our pivotal moments. But since we began in 2008, we have been focused on providing a journey of hope and healing with survivors of human trafficking in Cebu, Philippines. We have evolved through the years from just having the residential campus to really focusing on what we're kind of considering three pillars of the work. We have prevention, restoration, and reintegration. At the core of our philosophy of care is what we call second family. It is at the heart of everything that we do. And what that means is that at the heart of everything we do is our belief that it is relationships that matter most, whether it is with the girls in our care, their families, the communities that we live in, that our staff live in, that the girls have come from, with each other as co-workers, or with our community partners or others like all of you who are part of our journey. The relationship is critical. It is not only the girls who are transformed, but it is all of us, and it is through relationships that we strengthen our sense of worth, purpose, and especially that we strengthen the sense of possibility. One of our former board chairs, Yuan Chow, yeah, you can go ahead and turn it, Rose Ann, thanks, had a lovely way of talking about my Refuge House that has really stuck with me. He talked about how there are organizations that have a goal and focus on breadth. The goal is to reach more, to do more, to be more. And that for a lot of organizations is really critical, and it's very needed in the world. One of the things that we really believe makes us unique at my Refuge House is our focus on depth. We focus on building strategic partnerships and deepening relationships and deepening understanding and deepening connections. And you might imagine also how our depth offers something to those who are focused on breadth, that we connect with other organizations and often provide them a sense of depth as they're kind of going big. And that's, we've seen that, I think, even more in the last few years in Cebu, as we kind of connect with either DSWD, the Department of Social Welfare, or other NGOs who are in the community and doing work. As you hear our international directors and our US board chair share the reflections, you can, I hope that you will really feel connected to the depth of our work, to that sense of relationship that we have, and to the highlights, it's the hopes and the heart that grow out of it. It's those highlights, hardships, hopes, and heart that grow out of and fuel all that we do. So thank you, truly, thank you all for being here. It's fun to see these faces and these names. You guys have been such a part of my journey over the last 7 years, and me finding my feet and my wings, and giving me grace when I stumble, and also nudging me to kind of to stay focused where I need to. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rose Ann and Omar. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Good morning, everyone. We're in Cebu, so it's a brand new morning here. First and foremost, let me show you the picture of. It's not scripted. We are really these are really the happy faces of the girls and staff. Girls are covered because of just to protect their identity. So we took this picture during maybe a month ago, and yeah, this is basically 90% of the girls, and then the rest are also in the community. So yeah, so my name is Rose Ann, and I've been with my Refuge House for almost 12 years in March. And Omar also.
I've been with also around 12.
Yeah, he actually left around 6 months, and then he decided oh, actually I love MRH, so he went back after that. He betrayed for a while, but he came back. So I think that's fine. So, but we almost came at the same time in 2011. So as you know, MRH was born in 2008, thanks to Jessica Kwon, who introduced the book to the New Heart Community Church. And then we started having the program. So basically, this is the milestone of MRH for the past 14 years. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. So in 2009 and 2014, that's when we started the implementation of the different programs and services of my Refuge House. So I started doing the program in 2011, so I can talk more on the years of 2009 and to 2010. I would really consider 2011 to 2014 as the most challenging years of my Refuge House programmatically. Because, speaking on my own experience, those 4 years were really difficult to do. We did not know much about trafficking, how to deal with survivors. It was just too much of uncertainties. And in full honesty, there were a lot of times that I felt like it's no longer a safe place for me to work, because there were just too much tension between the staff and girls. And so if I felt that way, the girls must also be feeling that way during that time. And so we decided, you know what, we cannot let this continue, and instead of providing safety it's actually creating more threats and tension among both the staff and girls. And so in 2014, we decided to really restructure and overhaul the program and make it more strength-based and really respectful of the Filipino culture. As you all know, we were the previous leaderships locally here are all Americans, and we were like, as Filipino workers working with Filipino survivors, it was a bit difficult to navigate that kind of approaches. And so part of the overhauling in 2014, Filipino leadership was introduced, and that was me and Omar, together with the mentors, and God really brought like really essential people to make the restructuring happen. It was a bittersweet journey, but we know that we really had to go through and struggle through it if we really wanted something for MRH, and if really desire for MRH to be a place of safety and healing for both the girls and staff. So in 2014, we decided to also, like, relationship becomes the core of our healing process. As a social worker, it's really a big no-no to have that relationship aspect when it comes to your client social worker relationship. But in MRH, we decided to really value relationship in all aspects. And that's part of really building relationship, not only with the girls, but also with the staff and the families and the communities. And in 2014 to 2016, like this was the period where we felt like we had like a short panic moment, like, oh my gosh, we have like we thought that they are young forever, and then we felt like, oh my gosh, like we had to do something because we have girls who are about to graduate high school and we do not know what to do with them. Like, oh my gosh, like we need to send them to college. And so that was the moment that we decided giving educational and job assistance scholarship to our college, to our high schoolers who are about to go to college. So I remember one time I told Omar, like, I know we don't have the budget, but I think next year we are sending college girls, and I'm not sure we're gonna get the money. And so Omar is the we find ways kind of guy, like, don't worry, Rose Ann. Like, so I prepared together with the Peace Corps volunteer a proposal, sent it to Omar, and then we, like, pitch it to Miss Heather. And then that was the beginning of it all for the educational scholarship. And then we thought like, oh my gosh, we cannot send girls to their families and not doing anything to the families. So, and that's when we expanded to family work again. And we, we're, as you can see, we're quite ambitious. So I'm the ambitious girl, and Omar is my, how do you call it, one reality checker. I keep dreaming and dreaming, as what Jim said, that I can be president of the Philippines because I'm very ambitious. But Omar said, like, Rose, we cannot do that. So it's actually a good balance between the two of us. But, like, having Omar and Miss Heather and the rest of the board members, local and in the US, really supporting the work from the ground is really helpful. And so when we launched the community aspect of the work, like Dale really played an important role in there was this, like, board member who really played an important role in starting this up. And so we're now expanded to community program as well. And of course, as you know, 2020 and 2021, and even until now, there is just, the COVID started, and we had to navigate and adapt to the new normal. But still, we're quite ambitious, and we launched an asset program amid the pandemic in order to help more families and alumni. And this year, we started really reclaiming the place, MRH, to be a place of healing and restoration. And we started that off with the construction of our playground. So that's sorry, I talk too much. There's just too many things I want to share, so I need to be careful of time. So yeah, so as Ms. Heather mentioned, there are 3 major aspects of the program we're doing after all the ambitions and dreaming and being resourceful with the resources. So during the restoration part, so this is the part where all the hard work is also being done. So in 2009, the the first 5 items here are the very basic services we offer even until now. And as the years went by, we realized that we had to do more when it comes to the girls. And that's when we introduced the peer leadership and youth development. You know, like when you think of survivors, you can tell that, you know, like our misconception is that they are vulnerable, they are weak, but they are actually very empowered. They also have that leadership in them. And that's when we decided to really make peer leaders out of the survivors we're working with. And if you've been to my Refuge House, the first thing that would be very notable and when you arrive is how tall our walls are. And it feel like I remembered one girl who said that, wow, it felt like I'm in a prison because the walls are just too high. And so we cannot, you know, like, and being in prison is the very last thing we want them to feel about it. But it is also very normal for them to feel that way. So we decided to create more opportunities for the girls to go out, be with the society, you know. So we connected them to mentors outside of the MRH staff. So basically creating a network of support for them, so that when they go out, they have more people to reach out to in case they are not comfortable with the MRH staff members. And lastly, we have also, of course, we introduced the scholarship opportunities, both for education and employment scholarship. So we assist them as well. I'm gonna dig more on that later. So that's how we have evolved from having just basic programs to a more complex one. So, you know, like, we just imagine if you are being pulled out from your own home because of a rescue operation, one thing that the girl lost during that moment is their ability and right to determine what they want for their lives. So the sense of control for them as to, you know, like, about their lives was, you know, like a bit affected during the rescue operation. So we as an organization, we always believe that the healing and restoration only begins when the girl feels included in her own healing process, and she has to take an active role and determine together with us as to what direction she wants her life to, you know, like, to go to. So the moment the girl is referred to my Refuge House, we always say to other organization, we want the girl to be the one to decide if she wants to be with us or not. Because if the girl refuses to do that, we're not gonna force her. Because the last thing we're gonna do is re-traumatize the girl by forcing her to do something she doesn't want to do. So, that actually helps in like, really, like, what do you call this one? Like, we have no runaways when we started doing that in 2014. Because we started treating the girls as our partners, not just mere recipients of the program we're doing. And we also provide them opportunities that are more helpful. Like, they are in their situations because people took advantage of them by giving them opportunities that are not healthy and that are not good. And so we want to replace that with good opportunities for them to decide on, so that, you know, they will think that not all opportunities given to them are meant to take advantage of their vulnerabilities. So yeah, and so every time we do, like, change, like, we have decisions to make in the program, we have changes in the program, girls, we need to consult the girls because they have to decide what manner and what services do they want for their lives while they are with us. So, Ms. Heather, do you want to say something?
No, you're doing great. And I'll just
Okay.
say that, like,
I'm
all of
feeling
the
cold
deepening
on my
is such
face, so
you're doing great.
I'm not sure if I'm hot or I'm cold, like, you know, just bear with me. Okay, so I'm just gonna share some. There are a lot of things I wrote here, but like, we're gonna give you the slide if you want to, but I'm just gonna highlight some. So some of the milestone that we had with the girls is out in the last basically just from 2009 up to the present. academic milestones of the girls. We have 13 junior high school graduates, and we also have 8 senior high graduates. Maybe you're wondering, like, that's a very small number compared to other organizations, considering that we have like 14 years in the making. I would really say that we are quite intentional when it comes to providing the services they need, and we are also considerate of the quality of services we offer. So we are very mindful of our own staff. So if we go beyond the number we're capable of what's this like receiving, it's gonna be a difficult. There will be like an imbalance of burnt out staff, and then like burnt out girls. So we want to make sure there's a balance of that. And one thing that we do that is we're gonna individualize the intervention. We're gonna give to the girls based on their needs. It's a bit difficult because you really have to spend so much time for each girl, but it actually paid off. Yeah, and then so it's a good number for us. And then we also have successful court hearings. This is one of the most difficult part of the job, but in the past years, we really had good court hearing results and turnout. So that's one thing as well. And over the years, we have seen girls that really thrive in their own ways and are resilient enough that when they go out, despite the poverty here, despite the difficulties, they're able to stand on their own.
Hey, Roseanne.
Yes.
I just wanted to note, because we were talking about like the depth and how we sometimes offer that to people who have breadth. I think that the courts are a great example of where we've really helped partner with the girls and make sure that they understand what's going on in a system that is not easily understood, and making sure that they understand those decisions in a way that kind of deepens their experience with it in a healthy way.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we just recently, like when I say individualized, just recently we accepted a Muslim girl. She's 21, no read, no write. Like we really, like we could have said no, because it's a lot of work, but we decided that it's a good opportunity for us to actually change a life. And so we accepted her, and we right now we're teaching from the very basic, and we're using other girls to actually teach her how to read and write. And that is a very powerful journey, both for the younger girls who are able to share their knowledge because they were once like that girl, and then for that new girl to also allow other girls to influence her life and her journey. So yeah. And then for hardship, I think the poor or the delayed justice system is just one of the most difficult thing to manage as well when it comes to the legal battles of our girls. Every day we also had to deal with the effects of trauma, and we have to deal with a lot of girls, so we need to really get to know them in a much deeper level. And one of that is that also is a challenging part of the role. Psychosocial services here is very expensive. We have a very I think for the entire Philippines we only had a less than 50 psychologists and psychiatrists. So it's a bit difficult to reach out to, and if they are, they're very expensive. Yeah, and then I think the pressure from the families and the relatives are also a very major factor why would the girls go home prematurely. Yeah, but as what we've said, the girls need to decide on their own healing process, and even if sometimes we know it's not yet the right time for them to go home, we still have to respect it after going through the at least 3 months of reintegration planning. So yeah, and last year was the most difficult year in the past 14 years, and I want Omar to talk more about the typhoon.
Okay, thank you, Roseanne. I just want to share a short story about our experience during the typhoon ulit. So I didn't live for almost a month. I didn't live because I want to the shelter became stable and safety. So we survived so many typhoons over the years, including Typhoon Yolanda and Haiyan, but we weren't expecting Odette to be that strong. So I chose to stay at the shelter with the girls and staff during the landfall, as we were also preparing for our Christmas party on December 17th. So Odette hit us the night of December 16th. So shaking our windows and walls and immediately stripping us of electric power. And I remember walking around the MISPA house checking for the damages after the rain subsided. And the following morning, we didn't expect to see the destructions of a large part of MRH facilities. So like uprooted trees, broken windows, like destroyed ceiling and roofs of all houses, and the walls fell. So the walls, which serve as the symbol of safety of MRH, collapsed. So Rose and I is actually worried like how much the destruction will MRH cost. Like, so we're actually worried on that night, but we are very grateful to the people. Don't hesitate to share their blessings and all the donors. So, and then after that morning, one of the girls approached me like, Kuya Omar. Like Kuya Omar is a big brother respect with the girls. So they called me, all of the girls called me Kuya Omar as their big brother. So one of the girls approached me like, I'm not comfortable that we're being seen by the others after the fence collapsed. So the girls approached me like, she's not comfortable seeing by so many people, and not having our walls. So immediately we put temporary fence, a GI sheet, that's temporary walls, and we are not just extending. Despite the challenges that we're facing in rebuilding the facility, we're also we took the time and effort to help our neighbors, around 300 families. We give them relief foods, and one of the our neighbors said like, despite that MRH also as greatly affected with the typhoon, we're still able to help them. So we are actually first organizations who responded and giving relief to our neighbors. So they are really grateful for the MRH that's extending help to them. So we endured for a month that without proper communications, power, and limited drinking supplies, but we made it. So yeah, I think.
I like to just make sure everybody knows that when Omar heard that the typhoon was increasing in its power, where I think most people would have gone to their own homes, you went to my refuge house and made sure that that nobody on campus felt alone. And it was just such a gift. You did the same thing when we went into quarantine. So I think we should start calling you like Papa Omar or something.
Oh, yeah. And then I didn't live at the shelter until becoming stable. I stayed for a month there to really ensure the safety and the provisions are provided.
And now we're trying to help him figure out how to take days off. So
yeah. So the typhoon was a bittersweet, like experience for both the staff and girls, because that was also the moment we saw how the staff stepped up during that moment. And that was really a testimony that when you take care of your staff, they're gonna take care of you during the hardest moment. So yeah. So right now, our hope is to continue making the, like right after the typhoon and now during COVID, we want to reclaim this place to really provide like healing, hope, and restoration for all the residents and staff of my refuge house. And hopefully, in the next coming years, we will produce more resilient and thriving girls, and who are able to make an impact in their own unique ways to their own communities and families. So and then we also hope that we can create more network of support for them that goes beyond my refuge house. So I'm gonna share a story of Maggie. For maybe like for you, it's just a simple graduation photo, but this photo is actually I told myself not to cry, but a story of it's a living testimony of the work we're doing. So it's a simple graduation photo, but it's actually a big accomplishment, not only for Maggie, but for her family as well. She's the very first high school graduate in their entire family, like in the history of their family. She's the very first college graduate in her entire lifetime of their family. And now she's a registered social worker. So it's a simple photo, but she actually stepped up to the challenge when I told her that, like I always tell the girls, be the generation that breaks the cycle of violence, poverty, and lack of education in your own family. And Maggie was able to do that. So this is really a story of, like she came to us when she was 13 in 2014, and now she's a registered social worker. And when you're doing this job, it will take so much in you that at some point you really feel tired doing this, and God has a funny way of reminding you, hey Rose, and I planted you here, and I think you're losing that that connection. So I'm going to remind you in a very unique way. So 2 months ago, I attended a regional event of social workers. And guess what? I'm seated right next to her. And like, wow, like I was her social worker when she was with us. And now she's my colleague. And, I feel like, Lord, you really have a very good sense of humor. And, like it reminded me that if you feel tired, Maggie's life is, regardless of how difficult the journey was with her, she's all worth it. And like I'm not sure if Jessica where you get the tagline, restoring one life at a time, but Maggie's one life worth that 14 years of journey with my refuge house. And there were more heartbreaks, but successes like Maggie's is a good reminder that we're actually planted in the right, here, and God wants us to bloom here. So yeah, like that is Maggie's story. And she's now a social worker with her own family. Her father has been very abusive to her mom, and she's now acting like, like she's gonna fix her own family. So yeah, that's a very powerful story. Next is reintegration. So basically, this is the part of the program where it focuses on the families and the alumni that we have. So this is we really value the role of the family in the helping process. So basically, what we treat them as our stakeholders and partners in providing the hope, healing, and restoration to the girls. This is also the program that understands that our role in the lives of the girls goes beyond our walls, and we support our alumni in navigating their lives outside my refuge house. And in the same manner, we also value their influence towards the younger girls. So maybe you're wondering, like, why not focus on the girls? Why do you still focus on the family? Like in the years that we have been working with the girls, we realized, and by the Filipino culture, we realized that we put so much value in families, and regardless of how abusive your family is, like we always have that heart for our family. And so we don't want that, we don't want to take that away from the girls. And instead of cutting the bridge and that connection, we wanna connect them to their families. So yeah, so this part, honestly, we have produced 4 college graduates. It was not an easy feat, but we were able to produce 4 college graduates, and one, who is Maggie, is now a registered social worker. And then we also like introduced assets. So it's the assist, strengthen, support, and educate and train families. And it has 2 main programs, educational scholarship for the siblings. As what we've mentioning, like if the girls will go home to their families and they see their siblings going to school, it would create that inspiration that I need to keep going forward. And it also helps the family understand the value of education in their own family. So it's also breaking the silence of misinformation, lack of education, and poverty. And part of the asset is also the livelihood assistance, which Omar he's in charge of that.
Yeah. So assets livelihood program is more on like providing sustainable income for the families. So our biggest hope for the asset program is to provide a more sustainable source of livelihood income for the families and alumni, so that they have better income options. Like this is where our dreams, like we can provide like a sustainable income generating projects for the families. But we adopted like a microfinancing tool. For now, is we only have eight five families that in pilot testing for our livelihood assets. So it's only 5. So but we're hoping to expand more the services to the family members and relatives, to the community in the future. So we just only budgeted for 5 beneficiaries for now, since we have a limited budget. But in the future, that's also our dream. So
yeah, so
we're actually hoping that we can have 5 years from now, we can have more successful entrepreneurs for the families.
Yeah. So the background of the families of the girls, they're really poor, and that is one of the reasons why they're into in their situation now, because like people took advantage of them, or even their family members took advantage of them in exchange of money. And so for us, like there is no way that we're not gonna send the girls to their families, and if they go home to a family that they still do not have that regular source of income, it might repeat the history. So now, like, we're providing them that opportunity to at least have a stable income so they can support the needs of the family. I've mentioned about, like, we put so much importance on the role of the family in the healing process of the girls, and part of that is doing the reconciliation and reunification, even if the perpetrator is a member of the family. So we really have, like, it's heartbreaking, but we have girls whose own mothers or fathers or siblings sold them for like online sexual trafficking. But still, if you listen to their stories, they would still desire, and they still have the heart to reach out to them. And so instead of separating them, our goal is to reunite them, even if the mother is their own perpetrator. And we have successful stories of like really doing the reconciliation and reunification. Other organizations like do not agree to this
Method.
to this method. But for us, like, that's actually respecting the girl's desire. Like, we are in no position to stop her from reaching out. So why not reconnect? Why not educate the family instead, you know? And I'm gonna share a story later of how this method really helped a girl achieve her own healing and her family's healing. So, and then we also continue monitoring our girls, our alumni when they are also in the community. I think the major part of our hardship when it comes to our alumni is giving them the self-independence at the same time as feeling that we also have the sense of control. So I would like to see them like butterflies in our own palms, that we don't want to squeeze them too hard that they will die. Or not all, so we want to make sure that we have enough support that will enable them to fly on their own. It's a bit difficult for us because, you know, we're used to having them on site, and now that they are in the community, it's a bit, you know, like we're having a hard time really, you know, like they're older, they're mature now, and it's really a battle in our own selves that, you know, letting them go. And I think there was a visitor I told before that you know, like the hardest thing to see in our alumni is seeing them hitting the rock bottom. But I'm actually looking forward for them to experience that, because there's no other way but to go up. So for me, like, and that was every single time that they hit the rock bottom, the very first people that they will contact is my Refuge House. As you all know, like just 2 weeks ago, we lost one alumni. Like, you know, like it was a very first death experience. It's heartbreaking. But when she was in her deathbed, the family first reached out to my Refuge House, and she's been with us. She's not with us since like 2013, 2014. But 7 years later, the family still reached out to my Refuge House. And that's really a testimony of how the investment we're doing with the families and the alumni. Building trust and relationship with the families of the girls, it takes us years to do this, but it's all worth it, especially that they're a bit skeptical about my Refuge House. You know, like their daughters are with us, so, you know, like they're questioning our role, our influence, and being, you know, in the Philippines, if you are from like a faith-based organization, they will think like, oh, you're gonna make us born again, you know, like all of this. So we don't want them to think that way. So we want them to go beyond, to see us beyond their own misconception of us. So really have to build the trust. Sometimes our family workers would go help them cook, you know, like teach their kids, and it's really a lot of personal investment in the work. And then also, like, you know, like really giving them that available resources in the community as well. So these are some of the difficulties, but we're also hoping that we're gonna witness more MRH alumni both in the academe and in the employment. So my husband actually works for an organization that employs survivors. So, you know, like sometimes you need to take advantage of that opportunity. So, and then I know the CEO, so it's actually a very, you know, like it comes so handy. So when I need, like, so just recently we've referred six referrals to them, and 5 out of 6 referrals were accepted. And I just received a message that our girls are one of the highly performing trainees. So for me, that's actually a very good testimony. And in the academe as well, so we're sending more college, we're sending more alumni to high school. So yeah. And then I think for the families as well, for them to have a regular source of income, so that they will be more prepared when their families go home to them. So yeah, like, you know, like this is, I took these photos. This is a very personal story for me. So it happened in 2019. It is Shani and her mom hugging. That was the very, very first time they saw each other since she was rescued, and her mom is the perpetrator. So she's been, you know, her mom has been abusing her, like online sexual exploitation for a good 4 or 5 years. And so when she was rescued, the entire family did not know that something is going on in their own roof. And so when the police officers barged in and took Chani out from her family, imagine the shock and trauma of the entire family. And here comes my Refuge House. telling your daughter, your sister is with us, and we're gonna help you. And so they did not believe us in any way that we are actually good people. They considered us as someone who took their daughter or sister away and put the mother and the wife in jail. So imagine how difficult that was to navigate. It took us 3 years to build a relationship with the family. And the purpose of that is because we want her mother to give a guilty plea to the court, so that Shani does not have to go through the court process and go through all the pictures and videos her mom asked her to do like 5 years ago. And so her mom, after 3 years of working with the family, her mom had made a guilty plea. And that was the day she said, "I'm guilty." And we allowed Shani to see her mom. It's actually heartbreaking, but like, it's bittersweet. Like, you are witnessing a family being transformed, a relationship being reconciled, and at the same time seeing Shani, despite having her mom as the perpetrator, we still seeing her as her own mom. And that was the moment I told myself, I'm not gonna deny all these girls to reach out to their perpetrating family member, because they actually deserve it. And then after this, we allowed Shani to send letters, to call her mom from the prison. Like, it really renewed the kind of relationship the family has. And we cannot do that, like her making a guilty plea, we cannot do that if the family did not trust us, and we did not really spend so much effort helping them realize that the mother did something so hard, like damaging to Chani, but at the same time making sure that they also provide support to Chani. So this is a testimony that there is not, if you are really paying closer attention to the heart and desire of the child, you are really helping her find and receive her own healing, and also her family's healing. Chani is now a third-year college student taking up Bachelor of Elementary Education. Her mom is serving the maximum sentence in the maximum prison here in the Philippines. But their relationship has been so stronger than it was before. And the family now understands why there is a need to balance their support to Chani and to the mom. And Chani is now with her family with no stigma, with no judgment, with no persecution. And that's the very thing we wanted for her and for her family. Okay, let me breathe for a few seconds. Okay. So yeah, that's the story of Shani. And lastly, I'm gonna just give you a glimpse of the prevention thing that we're doing. Basically, this is the program that aims to really create a safer community, both for the girls and their families. And it has been launched in 2014. Our goal is to educate more families and communities, equip and empower them to become active bystanders when it comes to violence-related issues, and also engage them in us as well. So why did we decide to have this part of the program where, like, why do we engage in a more complex program where in fact we can just focus on the girls or the families, and why involve prevention part of the work? So these are some misconceptions and the demand and the facilitating factors why we decided this is something we wanted to do for so long. So especially now with online sexual exploitation cases rising in the Philippines because of COVID, it has become more of our heart's desire to do something in the community. So imagine, like, the median age of trafficking here is 11 years old. Like, I was still like playing when I was 11, but there are girls who are forced to do something that are not meant for children like them. And most of the cases are facilitated by family members. So this is something that we wanted to address and to respond to. So that's why we really opted to have the I Speak as part of our program. And like right now, like, like Philippines is one of the, like, our second language here is English. So the perpetrators are like, they feel that it is easier to like chat with Filipina girls because we can easily understand you, like, and regardless, like in our education, we are taught in English, not in our local language. So it's understandable that even how poor the family is, there is really that English speaking person in the family, and it makes it more easy. It makes it a lot easier for the perpetrators, for the foreign perpetrators, to penetrate the family. So yeah. So since 2015, when we launched the program, we have reached out to 4,678 participants. Like it's a multi-sectoral participants. But in the last 2 years, we've reached out to 1,036 participants. Maybe it seems so small, but if you are working from home and you are in the middle of the pandemic, and we got so used to doing in-person events, it was a difficult 2 years for us to navigate and reach out to more people, because our target beneficiaries are those in the mountain barangays, far-flung areas, disaster-stricken communities. So the online webinars are not very applicable. So we still managed to reach out to this number of people during the past 2 years. So yeah, like what are we have developed our own manuals. We also have presented MRH to an international summit this year. We also like reach out to more people, multi-sectoral, and we are very what's this like committed to really making My Refuge House an excellent aftercare shelter that is able to influence other shelters as well. And we're hoping to do that through My Refuge House. And the kind of philosophy we have, the manner we do things, our own beliefs and our own standard, we want to share it to others. We don't want it to keep it to ourselves, because like we need a community of people in order to really create a safer community. And I speak aloud My Refuge House without really divulging who we are and disclosing more confidential information. I speak is like our baby who goes out and tell people what we do. But we have difficulty keeping our staff members because not everyone is told to do this job. It's hard work, it's heartbreaking stories. So we are having difficulty keeping our staff to do that. And then like you see communities who are not informed and educated about the presence of trafficking and abuse, and seeing that it's more challenging to help them understand that it's actually wrong and that it is also happening. The very common reaction we get whenever we do in-person training is that, is it really happening? Like parents like abusing their 2-year-old or 3-year-old, like, yeah, it's really happening. And so these are some of the hurdles that we also experience through iSpeak. And so with that, we're hoping to reach and educate more people across the nation. Thank God as well, because of the internet. Maybe other people are doing it to their own advantage, but My Refuge House is doing it to really educate more people across the nation. And then we also hoping that more survivors will be linked to existing community resources. But our very, very dream for iSpeak is to really conduct a research study on, like involving commercially exploited children and women in Cebu, tell their stories and how the transformation in their lives happen, like all of those stuff. If there's one story that we would like to share through that we experienced with iSpeak, like we trained around 300 educators, and I know Jim is an educator. So we would really expect that if you're an educator, they have at least they have knowledge on some major issues. But when we went to a 300, like attendance of teachers, after our training, there was one teacher who approached our team and she said, I never realized that my husband was abusing me for years. But because of iSpeak because of that I Speak event, she said, oh my gosh, like it hurts her knowing that her mind and her eyes were open, that she is actually an abused person by her own husband. And that's, like that's how inaccessible information is in the far-flung area. So for me, it was, it was a blessing in disguise that we are having all this conviction to reach out to more communities, because we are really seeing some of the like advantages of educating people, because now they know what they can do and how they can also impact other people. So yeah, that's it. Ms. Heather?
Thank you, Rose Ann. Thank you, Omar. Thank you for sharing so much of what you do. It really, it's powerful stuff. And I am now excited. I recognize we're at 6:30. Kim's is exactly 10 minutes because it's pre-recorded, so I know how long it is. So, and Rachel's will be pretty short. I just wanted to give everybody a time check so you kind of know where we are, and I'm grateful that you're here. So I'm going to introduce Kim Jones, who is our she is our Director of Engagement. She spends most of her time in Dallas, Texas. Several of you know her, and she is a person who mobilizes people beyond Texas. But in Dallas, she focuses on our largest annual fundraising event. Selfish plug, it's coming up on November 9th, and our wonderful graphic designers, Mike and Katie, are with us in this meeting. So be there, you'll have a good time. So Kim is not with us because she's actually at an event tonight with our designer for this year, who's going to be showing in the show. But as many of you know, she's passionate about connecting with those who donate and bring their talents to our journey. So I'm going to share this. It's not letting me optimize for a video clip at the moment, so we'll see how this goes. You'll have to chat with me if it's not doing it.
Thanks to Rose Ann and Omar for all of their words and their work. It has been incredibly encouraging to me to hear the words, and to, I hear the stories from Heather, I read the emails from Rose Ann, but then to hear them from Rose Ann's mouth is such an encouragement to me. So Rose Ann and Omar, I just want to thank both of you for the work that you're doing. It is what actually invigorates the work that I'm doing here for my Refuge House here in the United States. And what I try and do is, when I meet with someone, one of the first things that I say to them is, my hope is that what you experience through me, through the information that I provide, whatever that might be, education, hope, or whatever, you fill in the blank, that it might mirror what our girls and staff experience on our campus in Cebu. And to me, what that means is hope, healing, restoration, all of the things that I think that so many people right now, even outside of MRH, are longing for. And for me, it's exciting. It's an honor. And first, I want to kind of step back, because it really is a privilege and an honor for me to have been able to represent this work for the last 8 years. And so when I talk with people, whether it is someone who is 80 years old or 8 years old, the way I first engage them is the fact that it is a privilege and it's an honor to just tell them about this life-changing work. And then from there, it is exciting to me to be able to show them, to tell them about this kind of work, about the work of an organization that I believe is transforming lives, and to teach them and to encourage them to incorporate, to figure out, okay, so here Kim has given me this information, now what do I do with it? And that's exciting to me as well. So all of this is just an honor and a privilege for me. And beyond that, it's an honor and a privilege, I believe, to walk alongside people that decide to say, hey, my Refuge House is an organization that I want to put my life into. I want to put my talents into. I want to give my gifts. I want to do whatever I can so that the girls that come to my Refuge House are able to flourish, that the vision that my Refuge House has put in place is able to flourish. And it's exciting to me to see people actually catch that vision. And I don't even really know what else to say. Heather, how could I expound on that? We talk about it all the time. And I'm like, I feel like I'm at a loss for words right now because of how much that I love this work.
Kim, I was just thinking when Rose Ann said that one of Omar's phrases is "we'll make a way."
Yes.
I feel like he must speak that directly into your heart, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a way, and then you speak that the gift that you give to so many people, including myself. I mean, an example is like with the typhoon, when things were just devastated. One of the first things you said to me is, we're going to think about this. We're going to restore campus in the same way that we restore the lives of our girls. We're not just going to put it back to the way that it was, in a half-built playground. We're going to build the playground. We're going to build what is meant to be. And I think that you do that with speaking of relationships, the depth with which you build and coach the rest of us to build relationships. And that's at the core of how we do fundraising and engagement. And it's engagement. It's like, what are you bringing and how can I help you?
Years ago, I guess 8 years. Oh my goodness. I have a 12-year-old. So I've been I also have a 21-year-old, but my 12-year-old, her whole life has been MRH for the most part. And when I first started with MRH, and it was back with Crystal, and Crystal said, well, here are the things I need for you to do. And she said, come up with a title. And I thought, what does that mean? Come up with a title. And I thought, for me, the word engagement is so, to me, holistic. It's not just about engaging people in the space of their finances, which we should, right? Because this is an organization that's worthy of their finances. But I also believe that we should engage people in the space of their gifts and their talents, because there are a lot of people out there that say, hey, I really want to make a difference. I really want to do something, but I don't necessarily have the funds to make that happen. And I say, that's okay. God has given you great gifts, great talents. And what I want to help you do is use those to benefit this wonderful, beautiful, life-changing work. And that could be helping me, whether it's through a fashion show, which is kind of funny to me, or it is, emails or helping me figure out, okay, who are the next people we're going to tell about, tell this beautiful work to, right? Who are we going to tell this story to? And that's exciting to me. And I really genuinely feel that what we are doing stateside mirrors what we are doing in the Philippines. And I love that. I believe we call it, was it second family, that idea, because whenever I tell people about this work, I really want to draw them in, and I want them to understand that you're not just writing a check, that you are actually a part of this family, that without you, we can't do this work. And you are a piece of this puzzle that only you can fit. And years ago, my husband Barry said to me, I was sort of lamenting about, I had just had our first kid, and I was thinking, not just thinking, I was really just talking to God, who am I now? I don't know who I am. I've got this kid. I just left. I was a school teacher. I was no longer teaching school. And who am I? And I'll never forget, Barry said to me, you, Kim, only can make a Kim-shaped impact on this world. And I love telling people that whatever your name is, whoever you are, you can only make an impact. Like, it's your impact. It's your unique impact. And to me, that is a beautiful thing. And that's a beautiful thing to me. It's an honor and a privilege to steward that. And I just love to bring that joy and that opportunity to people here in the United States, because we all play a part in the restoration of one life. And even going back to what Rose Ann talked about with Maggie, I think that all of this work is worth her one life.
Yeah.
All of this work is worth her one life. And it is my privilege to share her life with the people that are here and say, you absolutely can impact someone like Maggie's life or Channy's life. You have an opportunity. So it is, I can't begin to say the fact, I am absolutely just so grateful for the last 8 years of my life. It has not only impacted my own life, but it's impacted my children's life, my family's life. And that to me is a beautiful thing. And I believe, just even going back to Maggie's story, how Maggie has impacted her own family's life, just so has MRH impacted my life, my children's lives, and I believe ultimately will impact the future and will impact their own communities. So the work we are doing here is a mirror of the work that we do in Cebu.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.
Sometimes I call Kim our resident pastor on our team. I am so grateful for the way that she builds bridges and helps us all stay connected to the work that we're doing. I've found myself talking a lot lately about the kind of sacred space that exists between joy and sorrow. And I hope that all of you have a sense of what that means for us at my Refuge House tonight. People often ask me how I say hopeful, because I can be kind of goofy and I tend to be pretty positive. And I guess there are a lot of social workers who are burned out or something, but people are asked, how are you so hopeful? And I say, it's because I'm never alone, and you all make sure that I'm never alone. I might daily see the worst of humanity and feel that and touch that, but I also daily see and touch the best of humanity when complete strangers, people who may never ever make it to Cebu and to our campus, feel connected enough to invest time, talent, treasure to be a part of this journey. And that is an unbelievable blessing to all of us and to our girls, and hopefully to all of you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Rachel Toberty, who is our board chair here in the United States, and she will wrap us up. Thanks.
I have to unmute myself. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. Thanks, Rose Ann and Omar, for that great presentation. And I was thinking as you were talking, Rose Ann, especially, you had all of these things, and I feel like you could go on and on for hours, and I would love to hear you go on and on for hours, just more about kind of the depth of the work that we really are doing at my Refuge House. And so I sympathize with your struggle to really incorporate all of the things that you guys do in just a short amount of time. And so thanks for trying to give us some brevity in kind of incorporating just all of the work that you do. And I just wanted to acknowledge that you've given us just the surface level. And I think all of us here have had the privilege and know that there is so much more going on. And so we're very grateful for your commitment, for both you and Omar, for just your leadership. Every time I talk with Heather, I am just impressed with just how you guys always have things under control. And so we're very grateful. And Heather, also, I just wanted to briefly acknowledge you and Kim and Amber have done such an amazing job. You're kind of the shepherd of this group. And you connect all of these groups, and Heather's one of her strengths is connectedness, and I see it all the time just in how she brings together different groups and different types of people and people from different backgrounds, and she brings them together. And I love that she has connected that to my Refuge House, that is part of our goal, is this connectedness. And so Heather, you are uniquely gifted to be shepherding my Refuge House. And so real briefly, I'm the board chair this year, but I just also wanted to introduce a couple other board members who are here with us tonight, Jessica Kwan and Jim Hammond and Eleanor Purcell, and then Maria Huang is not here with us tonight, but that is our board for this year. Sometimes people might not know us, but we would love to get to know you. If you don't know us already, we would love to get to know you. And so this is a personal invitation. If you have any questions or need any information, I'll put my email in the chat. Would love to hear from you, and would love to connect with you. I also would be remiss if I didn't recognize our Filipino board, our local board. Sometimes people don't know that there is a local board that they really help us run all the day-to-day. The US board gets to be a little bit hands-off because they are doing such a good job. They've been there since the beginning, and we're just really grateful to their commitment and all the work that they do. One other thing I just wanted to mention about the people on our board, sometimes I came to board membership brand new to it, and it can be maybe, what does it mean to be on a board? And one of the things that I've loved about our board, everyone has their own unique gifting, and we might, but what I love is everybody loves my Refuge House. And there's no doubt about that. We have people who have been with my Refuge House. We have a founder from the very get-go, people who have been there, who have supported, who just really love my Refuge House. And so getting to serve on a board with those kinds of people, and always making sure that even as we're talking about kind of mission statement, governance, finances, all of those things, I want you to know that we keep the stories and the people that we're serving at the forefront of our board. And that's something that's really important to the work that we do, and why it makes it a privilege to be on this board, because I think we're unique in that way. Just real briefly, this is just a kind of a thank you to our supporters. The last couple of years, as you've heard, have been challenging years with the global pandemic, and then in being in lockdown for a couple of weeks, and just all of the challenges that brought. And there was a lot of uncertainty of how this was going to impact our finances, and what it was going to look like, and whether donations would start to dry up or not. And then on top of that, just as we were starting to come out of that, then the typhoon hit. And it has required a great deal of prayer by our board, by all of the people, Rose Ann and Omar and Heather, and the people that are leading us, a great deal of faith. But I would just like to kind of, as the board chair, to testify the fact that the Lord has showed up for us, and has provided for us financially. And so thank you for being part of that. Sometimes it feels like it's the fishes and the loaves, and the Lord is just blesses us. And the typhoon gave us a little bit of obviously no one was expecting it. And I just was so incredibly impressed by the fact that all of our supporters gave, and we did not have to dip into our operating budget in order to cover the repairs and bless other organizations in and around my refuge house, and to cover all of our repairs and restore our campus. And so what an incredible thing that we were still able to maintain all of the programs, everything that we needed to maintain. And the Lord gave us the ability to rebuild and be rebuilding in a better way too. So thank you for being part of that. Thank you for partnering with us for the last 14 years. I know that there's a lot of you who are beginners, and so we just thank you for just your faithfulness and the ways that you have committed to partner with my refuge house. I hope that this time tonight, my hope when I think about, the purpose and what we're hoping for this time tonight, one, we hope it's just a time to re-engage and for you to be just re-impressed by all of the work that my refuge house is doing. And then also, hopefully it gives you a sense of encouragement in your own life too, of sometimes we need those moments to step back and look at all of the things that God is doing in our life, all of the connections that are being built. So I loved the fact that we've got kind of a history of how it didn't start, there were some troubles at the beginning, and here's how we're getting better, because that's much of life. So hopefully you feel re-engaged, you feel hopeful, you feel invigorated in doing the work. In that, I would love to invite you to connect with Heather, connect with myself, connect with any of the other board members. If you are just like, hey, how do I get re-engaged with the work of my refuge house? And we would love to partner with you in that. We're just so grateful for the work and for all the things that you are doing to partner with my refuge house. I thought I would close this out with just with just a quick benediction. And this is from the Book of Common Prayer, but it incorporates kind of my heart for my refuge house. And if you do have questions after the benediction, feel free to stick around and ask questions. This is not you have to go, but here's my prayer for my refuge house and for each of you. I pray that you go forth into the world in peace, that you're of good courage, that you hold fast to that which is good, and render to no one evil for evil. You strengthen the faint-hearted, and you support the weak. You help the afflicted, and you show love to everyone. Love and serve the Lord, rejoining in the power of the Holy Spirit and the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, be among you and remain with you always. Amen. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to end the recording, but we can chat and visit if people would like.